Welcome to Tech and Heels with our host, Rita.
Welcome, Marta. Tell me everything about you.
So I'm a product designer by day and a community builder outside working hours. I've been doing that since 2019. I've had something going on while studying, while working full time. And currently I'm a part of actually 3 communities and not just a
Three
part
communities.
of really building 3 communities simultaneously. One of them is Ladies Like UX, which is how I met you. And everyone is so different from the other that it's really quite a challenge every single time. Where do you want me to start?
Tell me the one that you have a more leadership position.
Right. That would be for sure the Coworking Thursdays, which is an initiative by 351 Startups. It's not going to be my sole focus for the rest of the year, I don't think. I'm going to do some facilitation when it comes to the startup weekends we have as well. But for now, and since January 2025, it's been the part where I lead most. Right now, I had some numbers and I did about 54% of organic growth within 2025. So since I joined, we grew quite a substantial amount. So it was from around 600 signups to over 1,000 in just a year's time, and we take a break in August, which is really good. And this was mostly word of mouth, some slight social media work, and people just keep joining. And after a while, if you come 2 or 3 times, I know you're going to come every single week. So that's a really satisfying.
You are living in Porto, right?
Yeah, I moved here when I started working, so in 2024, and I'm doing the coworking Thursdays in Porto. So every single week we gather somewhere around the city, and it's completely free. Everyone just works on their own projects or their own companies. For example, I'm working for an American company right now, and then we're just all bonded together, all having like fun as a group.
Nice. So, Marta, what made you become a leader in a community? What gave you the courage to do that? Tell me a little bit about that.
To be honest, I never sought it out, so it just came very organically. I feel like it's a very Portuguese student thing for us to join like student associations or núcleos. I was a part of the dancing one in my university in 2019, which was the last year it was ever running before it became extinct. Then I moved to international mobility, Erasmus, through ESN, so Erasmus Student Network. I was there for 5.5 years, which considering the average lifetime is like a year and a half, 2 years per volunteer, that's a long time. I was kind of a dinosaur at one point, and I just kind of grew into it naturally. I was going on Erasmus, I heard about the association, I was curious, I joined.
I'm seeing a very proactive person in general. You like to be social, you like to meet everybody. Are you usually forward, like when you are in some events, do you usually put yourself out there?
Yeah, I've tried to lose that kind of inhibition in the sense of if I find something like interesting about a person, I'm going to try to compliment them. I'm going to try to speak it out loud, not just keep it in my head. Because I feel like sometimes we just see someone who's doing everything or doing some things very specifically so well and we don't say anything, but it's a really big thing. So I try to at least do the nice thing. If not, for example, in the groups that I lead in the communities, someone's kind of excluded, not a really part of the group. I'm like, hey, I'm Marta, who are you? Oh my God, what do you do? And it's really fun when it comes to people who are super shy, and then you start seeing them come out a little bit more and a little bit more, and you just introduce them. I'm kind of a connector, so I bridge people together a lot. And I just, hey, this guy does the same thing as you. Oh, we should talk. And then all of a sudden they start being a part of the group and they keep coming back. So I really do like that. And I really do live for events.
Why did you want to participate in Tech and Heels?
For 2 things. I feel like we are very against non-linear careers and I'm very much forward it. I have been doing this, like I told you, since 2019. And knowing you personally, I feel like you're giving stage for something that a lot of people completely disregard. So we're talking side projects, we're talking side hustles, other projects, freelancing, whatever you want to call it. I feel like there's this huge gap in the market of people realizing sometimes that, hey, this adds to your character. I've grown beyond like measure because of this like proactive nature I have and this organization that I have. I have 3 communities actively and a full-time job. I don't live always in Porto. I'm not from Porto, so I go visit family, still have an active social life, I still do everything. And it just takes a little bit of organization and a whole lot of wanting to make it work.
And what do you do specifically to keep up with everything? What tools do you use? What methods do you use to organize yourself?
I have a Google Calendar that looks like Skittles. And I'm telling you, everything is color coded, every single thing is there. I can show it to you actually. It's kind of scary, but it's the greatest thing I ever did. And it's been this way for the last, I don't know how many years. And this is my second brain, basically. Whatever I need to do, I put it in the calendar and it becomes a non-negotiable.
I also am trying to do that. Minimal tasks. I never put on Google Calendar. I tried to put that in another place. No, I'm all in Google Calendar. Why? Because I created an automation with the Claude cowork that every day gives me a daily brief and only can read on Google Calendar. So this is also something that you can do if you want.
I've been exploring it, but I've been doing it a little bit more professionally than personally, I have to say. So I haven't really gone through co-work very much on my personal side, but that's interesting for me.
It's very easy. You literally connect, you give access, and you go to Cloud Cowork and you say, I want you to create an automation where you every day do a draft for my email with the brief for today. Cloud Cowork don't have the possibility yet to send emails for you. So I use AI Studio, which is from Google also, to create the script to when they see a draft with a specific keyword, they send that email for that person.
Actually,
so this is a free workaround.
Yeah, that's cool. What we've been using, for example, in the projects, automations when it comes to, for example, like RSVPs, confirmations, information on events, because those things we've set like pre-handed. So we don't necessarily need, for example, every single week for me, I need to open the event. I need to check people who are coming, send the list of the partner, monitor during the event, do the aftercare. I don't need to do all of that because we have systems like that. But I never really went through and saw how they could apply to my daily life, just because I want to, at a certain point, just disconnect so much that I just try to do the whole calendar and okay, everything else, just leave me be. Communities gives you a sense of connection and integration somewhere where it kind of validates who you are and where you're going, because you meet so many people from so many different places, particularly the international ones, that for me, it just satisfies.
Do you know that the first thing that I thought when I started joining communities was, this is how adults make friends.
But it's true.
Yeah. When you get to a certain age, you start to understand what are your likes, what your interests, and then you have the friends from always that don't necessarily like the same things anymore. And then you start to meet people that like the same things through communities. And this is how I think adults make friends and make good friends with the same goals. So I love that you have 3 communities. What is one of the things that you have like a deal breaker for someone that joins the community?
Okay, I'd say like as a participant, if you're just there to make noise and try to steal the spotlight or some selfless promotion without giving anything in return to the community, that is more destructive than it is useful. So I'm very much turned off by it. As a volunteer and organizer, I'd say anyone who's not super aware of themselves in terms of, for example, the time that you were talking about and their communication style as well, then for me, it'll be harder to manage. Because I have the 3, I'm very organized. I have this much time for this, I have this much time for that, I have X amount of time for the 3rd community. So each of them knows what exactly my ownership is usually, and then I just go from there and I try to delegate if I can't do anything kind of early on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had a similar reaction in understanding of communities because I finished university, I finished my master's in Aveiro, and I moved to Porto to start working. So all of a sudden, all of the academic social circles completely vanished from my life when I started working, which meant new city, no circles, no pre-existing conditions, and I had to figure it out by myself. And actually, it was a former coworker of mine who I just created a dynamic with at the office here that introduced me to Co-working Thursdays. Then I went every single week, and then I became an organizer, and God knows what else it's going to lead me to. So again, ironic, but definitely it was very like adulting. Let's meet a friend.
Oh, that's great. I think communities are something that you don't know exists when you are younger. You don't know that this type of events, workshops, at least me, I grew up in a more small town. I didn't grow up in Lisbon. So there is a university there, but I feel that we didn't have so much access to free events, workshops that people kind of push you to go. And this made me very surprised when I have entered the world of communities, especially tech communities. I personally value a lot the people that are in tech communities, especially women, because they are the same type of mindset as me, which is builders and no drama. Usually they are very no drama people and they like to talk about things they are building. They are very helpful to each other. I understand totally what you are saying.
And I think that's the distinction between a group of people and a community. It's the fact that we are so there to support each other and to build each other up versus just trying to not be alone. And that is the main difference, I'd say.
They literally want you to grow because then they will be helped also in the future from you. This is something that it's selfish almost, but it is in a good way. I want you to grow because I know you're going to help me. I was talking to a friend of mine. She also has a podcast. And I was saying, I don't know any people that make money with podcasts. How are they doing everything? What's the channels? So I'm going to start to talk to some of them through another friend that I meet through a community. And then I'm going to share with you because you're going to apply the same thing for your podcast. And why? Because she already reaches some things that I don't, and I'm reaching some things that she doesn't. So I think this is where you see the power of community and communication. But of course, that I think also many people don't talk about the bad parts of community. And when I say this is because usually most communities are nonprofit. They have a lot of volunteers working. And when they are arranging events, sometimes there are problems in the backstage. So talk me to a little bit about that. You are very experienced in that.
So I have 7 years on me, and currently I have 3 different communities. We're talking Lisboa UX, where I have a job board. Then I have Ladies That UX in Porto specifically. And last, I have the Coworking Thursdays. That being said, I also do some spontaneous events like TEDx Aveiro. It's been my 3rd year right now. And all of them have different skills and different targets and different people involved. And all of them are not rainbows and sunshine. For example, Coworking Thursdays, when people sign up for an event and they don't attend, you're stealing someone else's spot who wanted to come. And usually we have at least 150 to 100% of the demand that we have spots for. Same goes, for example, for the Ladies at UX. If we want to move the community, we need to learn how to move them and make them come to us as well. So we need to put ourselves out there. And yeah, sometimes it's a little bit demanding of us, but it's really good when it really comes to life. And same thing goes for the job board. Like we learned, I think it was last week, that someone junior, entry level, got a job because of something that we put in the platform. And that is like super satisfying. The bad parts, obviously, really come and weigh you down. But when you have a good team, and honestly, this sounds very cliche to say, when you have a good team and you actually believe what you're doing, I understand that community and volunteering is not a forever activity. I've pivoted multiple times and I will continue to do so.
For you to mention, that's something I think that people sometimes are not aware. I also thought that before. When you decide to volunteer to a place, you don't should automatically assume that they have a fixed schedule, that you have to go forever. I remember, I really want to do volunteer work, but I don't feel that I can commit for a long time, and sometimes I cannot go. So when you start thinking about volunteering, talk to the communities and explain what's your availability and how can that be working with them, and how stop for 3 years or whatever and then start again. There are many communities, I think they don't mind this, but most of people don't know this, so they don't even talk about it. And what communities have more problems with is when people compromise and don't go, and then I just don't appear. That I think is an issue. But if you tell them even a day before, I cannot go tomorrow, they will be fine with it because there are more people. So this is something that people need to be aware of.
I think there are 2 words here that are very buzzwords, but really work here, which is commitment, which is what you're talking about. If I say I'm going to show up every single Thursday, then I'm going to show up every single Thursday, or I'm going to have a good reason not to. And impact. I would rather be a volunteer for 6 months, do something really well, and promise, deliver on my promises, versus being here for a year or 2 years and being fluff, or meaning not doing a whole lot, not delivering, not being there full-heartedly. I don't think it works. I don't think it's nice. And that is why, for me, I'm a little bit skeptic of years of experience just as years of experience. That really does not tell me much. And again, with the job board, for example, from Lisboa UX, you realize sometimes it's really misleading how much you can take on and how skillful and how proactive, once again, you are, because you can't really write down your essence in a paper. So that's a fun part when you actually get to break the ice and meet the people and be there, as well as communities bring out this validation and this marrying the professional and the personal sides, in the sense of you become a whole human, because in your job, you might just be a product designer, a PM, or whatever it is. Like, I'm the daughter of teachers, so they are just teachers for their students, and their students are really surprised if they see them like at the supermarket, because, oh my God, you exist outside school. Shocker.
I think also from Portugal, because teachers and doctors and engineers would be in some high field, and then if we met them outside of their workstation, it would be a type of communication very formal, like a doctor. If you met your gynecologist outside of work, people tend to be very professional instead of, oh, did you try Ben and Jerry's new flavor? You know.
And in communities, I feel like we break that kind of fourth wall, and you become Rita, the person who is the founder of Tech and Heels, but also this, that, and she also likes to hike, likes dogs versus cats, blah, blah, blah. For example, it's something that's simple. Like, I find it really satisfying. I get so many texts from people, like, just from whatever communities or events, and they just remember me randomly, and I get so happy about it. Like, I like that I make an impression.
I was going to say that I think you made a very good impression, and it was very joyful. I think that's the thing. You bring a certain type of energy that people immediately feel. Even if you are in the bad day that you are not saying what you wanted to say, really, you just have that energy, young, positive, with ideas and wanting to help. This is what I felt when I met you immediately, and that you are a connector. I also recognized that very, very early.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, for example, I'm at an event. I went specifically from Porto to Lisbon for that event, and that was it. But I felt like such an urge to be there because I had friends organizing and I had friends attending. So I just really felt compelled.
And do you know what I think? when you are in a community, it's kind of more a safe space to share things that didn't go so well. For example, when I started going to communities, meeting people that have the same mindset as me, I understood that having your first business, it's like you're very green if you have only one business. Like you need to have at least 3 failed businesses, and that is, you need to say that proudly. I think that a community is something that you put your barriers down a little because you honestly want to grow and to know and to be. And when you see that people are in the same struggle as you, some of them with more experience, with less experience, I like to meet people that know more than me. However, I like to help. I do mentorship in Ladies at UX, and sometimes I'm doing my mentorship session, and I think what I said was very obvious and very not impactful because it's so normal. It's something so obvious in my mind. But for someone that never heard that, like she's in another stage that I was before, and sometimes people forget that. And when you are in a community and you have that close in person, to be able to have that coffee conversation, sharing a lot of struggles there. But going back to the place that you said that not everything is colors. So tell me like a situation that you struggle, a specific situation that you struggle, and how did you solve that?
For example, in 351, this community is very, very solid. So we're been doing this since 2022 in Porto. Before in Lisbon, we are expanding to Algarve, Madeira, Viseu, and a few other places. There was even talk of going to Brazil, which was really cool. Like, if you need a mentor, sign me up. But it's really hard when you do this, again, as someone who has a full-time job who's completely unrelated to all of this, to manage everything. So what happens usually is you try to find safe people. Like, if I have a small team, it was just me and another person in Porto at a certain point, which was way too much. And what happened is I just started brainstorming with Erika, and we're like, hey, who can we call? Is there anyone we can call that would carry this with us as well? And I had a little running joke with a participant on Instagram. It was like, oh, you should come. Is this your way of wanting to be in our teams? And his answer was, only if you send me a signed letter by post. I'm like, oh, really? We were at an event. I started writing down in my notebook. I delivered the message, and now I have Marcos in the team. And Marcos is great, and it really helps. Learning to delegate is really hard, particularly in the beginning. Knowing how much you know, again, goes to what you just said, is a very personal thing, and it really is hard when you're starting out. I feel it so much, but you obviously have some kinks. Like, for example, when you have in-person events, somebody destroys something, somebody doesn't show up, a partner fails, or forget to do some part of the agreement with them. It happened a few years ago, I think 2023. I had an in-person event, so 500 international students in Algarve, and I don't think we had enough like video footage of a specific partner. Obviously, like after the event goes, we can't really do much. We try to cover it up. We try to do like some post stuff, but if there's not much content, there's not much content, unfortunately. So we just had to own it.
What did you learn for next time?
Document requirements, put that as the first thing on your days to get that out of the way, so you're free to do whatever other tasks you have. So next year, I also went to that event, and we just decided, okay, you are doing this part. This is your task. This is your ownership. Like, go for it. If you need help, contact us. You take care of this partner. You take care of this activity, and you kind of just split it more. Because if everyone's task is to do something, probably no one's going to do anything. So just give them some kind of a person, a name, a deadline, something internal, so that there is ownership about it. Because again, the team can be 5 people, can be 200 people, but maybe someone else will take care of it, and then that someone else never shows up. So that was a big lesson.
Yeah. I think it's something that people need to feel.
I kind of wanted just to highlight the fact that you can have multi-passionate people, and that is fine. If you have one passion, go for it. If you have multiple ones, go for it. If you can find a healthy way to express it. Because again, I feel like if we're not founders, it doesn't feel like we're doing anything. If I don't have so much time, then it doesn't feel like I should contribute or I'm allowed to get into XYZ activities, groups, communities, whatever. And that is quite the opposite. I started working 2.5 years ago almost. And here's the situation. I feel extremely junior and also not at all at the same time. So where do I stand? Because I want to market myself as beyond that, because I feel like I am beyond that. But if I start, for example, talking about my experience and sharing my stories, are they actually relevant enough to be shared with the world? It was some kind of prima donna situation. Because most likely, and what I've learned from communities, my problems are very little and they're very much not unique, because everyone has gone through this. And what I do, for example, in Ladies in Porto, our portfolio session, and one of the things that's helped me realize is I actually know a thing or two. I actually could speak more about. Why don't I start talking about? So I feel like that's also something that is a very personal journey. And if you have a specific like project that you want to go for, do it.
You have time for everything because you are an organized person. I feel that you are that busy person, but when you meet a busy person, you always assume that she's doing something productive with the validation that you were talking about in the community. You said that people have multi-purposes. I think that's true. And when you create a product, a digital product, you have the idea, you design the product, you try to validate the product, and then you try to put value there and see how you can get value from there, because you're sure that it's going to work. And I feel that people are like products, because we need the feedback only after you go there and validate yourself in the different areas that you're building, that you're trying. You need to go there and validate yourself, that part of yourself. And you need to see if it needs work, if it doesn't need work, if you want to leave it, archive it. That's how you find your purpose in life. But I think people just, when they look at someone that is known for one thing, they immediately think that he's that and that's it. And he found his gift. The people that have more success is the people that find their passion, that they are naturally gifted for, and that it makes money. That's what I think, that when they find this conversion, it's incredible. But they can only find this conversion, or they are very lucky, which also can happen. But if you are a normal person, you have to go and try it out. And I think this begins when you're younger. It begins with like, oh, you should try this sport and that sport and that sport. And when you have this part of your life very positive, you try a lot of sports and you commit, and you understand why you quit, and you have this very positive journey in your childhood. You also do this journey when you're an adult, because failing and trying is something that you connect to growing and good. But when you are not like that, people don't tend to be so forward and have confidence to build other things. When you enter in communities like yours, they already feel that it's very safe to do that.
Yeah. And the word that you use, the verb building, is a really good verb, because for me personally, I feel like you build your purpose by doing the experimentation. But you do have to have a healthy relationship with experimentation, and therefore success and failure. Failure is information the same way success is, even if the outcome is not the same thing. One of the reasons why I feel like this is you stumble your way forward, you fail your way forward. So, for example, even something as simple as getting a job, if you fail one recruitment, maybe that will give you information for the company that you want next and that you go for next. Same thing goes with building a business. Same thing goes, even something as simple, I don't know, as cooking a meal or walking a dog or meeting a new person. You get more information and therefore you can act according to it. But you need to build, you need kind of the courage to be able to fail and be seen failing, which is really hard nowadays. Really, really hard, because everything is out in the open. So how can you do this in public if it's like this demonized situation? And then you need to have introspection. You need to have time to look into yourself.
For what you're saying, I heard this story and I thought it was such a good parenting method. Basically, the mother or the father, every week they sit down at dinner or lunch or something with their kids and ask them, what did you fail this week? And if they didn't fail at anything, the parents would show that they are disappointed. So this made their kids connect failure with something positive, and they grow much more because of that, because they are not afraid to try, which is failing is trying, it's connected to trying. There's many things in our lives that just need another perspective, literally.
Because you need to have that kind of shift sometimes. And again, having people that help you see that and who've gone through the struggle or just can relate and be human and be there for you, really like icing on the cake.
For me, there are two types of people, the builders and the non-builders. And I try very, very hard only have relationships with builders because they add value to my life. And I feel also very good when I do the same. So you are incredible. You have done a lot of work, and I want to go to more events that were organized by you or with you. So thank you so much for coming.
I think we just need to dare more. For example, me being here was because I dared enough to tell you like, hey, I would love to do this. Can we make it happen? And that is scary. And maybe a year ago, I wouldn't have done that, but I do it now and I do it often. It's been really rewarding and really terrifying. So just kind of use your fear as well as like a map and just go.
Yeah, I was very surprised. You were the first one that reached out to be here. I was very happy. And I said, okay, this is having some impact.
Yes.
So
yes, impact is like something that is not just numbers. It's not anything of the sort. It's having a lasting memory on people. If you have a lasting impression, for me, that's already impact. That's all I can ask.
Thanks for listening, and see you in the next episode.